and welcome to this meeting of the Board of Education on Wednesday, April 3rd, 2024 at 5 o'clock p.m. I'm now calling the meeting to order. Thank you all for being here tonight. Before we begin, I'd like to ask those individuals that come to the podium to speak to please use the walkway opposite the sign language interpreters to avoid disrupting interpretation services. Additionally, those with signs, if any, please sit towards the back of the room and please hold the signs in such a way as to not block the people sitting behind you. Clerk Davis will now read a civility warning.
To ensure the meeting is conducted in an orderly and efficient manner, and to safeguard the rights of those members of the public who wish to address the board, we would like to remind the public of the need to maintain order in the boardroom and refrain from disruptive conduct. Any individual who continues to interrupt or cause a disturbance will be removed from the meeting.
Thank you. And then just given the community feedback we received in regards to some of the lacking comments out of our community forum meetings that we've received, I'd like to make the following motion with your indulgence. I make a motion to table closed session item 1A, superintendent interviews, pending further board deliberation.
Second.
Okay, we have a motion from Trustee Casadas and a second from Trustee Jonathan Rosas. Trustee Thomas. Could we have a roll call vote, please?
Before we do that, can I make a proposed amendment? So I think people here know that I'm in support of us opening up for a comprehensive external internal process. My amendment would be, because we've already scheduled the interviews in closed session for tonight, to respect people's time, to still hold those interviews to see if internal candidates sort of rise to a next round as we assume we open it up for an external process, to be respectful of the interviews that are already scheduled, with the assumption that we are going to open this up to external candidates as well, but just to see who we have as the next round unfolds.
Mr. Barton?
Trustee Levine, I wasn't clear on the amendment. Could you just state that again?
Yeah, my amendment would actually be, actually it's, I don't know, you tell me what it is, but I think because we've scheduled interviews for this evening, to respect people's time that we've scheduled, to still conduct those conversations and see if any of the internal candidates that we're interviewing sort of rise to another round of conversations, as we all assume that we're going to open this up for a more comprehensive process that includes external candidates. So my amendment would be to keep the interviews as scheduled tonight and commit to an external comprehensive process as well.
If Trustee Casares accepts the amendment, otherwise she can reject the amendment and you vote on the original motion, unless there's some other board members who might want to entertain a motion to continue with the closed session agenda as it appears tonight. But for purposes of your amendment, it would have to be accepted by Trustee Casares. Otherwise, there would be a vote on the original motion.
Thank you, Trustee Levine. I understand where you're coming from. I think we owe a lot to the candidates that were scheduled for interviews. I just think to make it cleaner for us and more transparent, that we take a giant step back and start fresh from the beginning, including additional community input before we move forward with any interviews. So unfortunately, I'm sorry, I apologize. I'd rather move forward with my motion as originally proposed.
Thank you.
Well, I'm going to take back my second because I think I would like to hear from the rest of the trustees.
Okay, so we have a motion and a second to table the agenda item for superintendent interviews. Could we have a roll call vote, please?
But that point of order. Trustee Levine put something out, and it was second, so now I believe it's time for our discussion regarding the original motion.
And I think Trustee Jonathan Rosas wanted to speak to it, and I think Trustee...
Okay, I'll just go down the line here. I have Trustee Jonathan Rosas.
Thank you. I just wanted to be in support of the idea. Clearly, there's a lot of strong emotions and strong feelings that have come from the community. And I do want to listen to everybody that came here. And I'm heartened by the fact that a lot of people are so invested in the search for a superintendent and are supportive of Fresno Unified. So I do want to hear from our community. I do believe it's appropriate for us to just take a giant step back and reevaluate and have a very frank and open discussion in closed session. So putting a pause on the proceedings for today until we are able to have that discussion is appropriate. But as I said, I do want to hear from the community and appreciate everybody's time for being here. It's stirred up a lot of emotions and a lot of things amongst people and that I've heard personally. And so, as I said, I want to hear from people and I want to give us an opportunity to discuss, but also to correct a lot of misunderstandings that I've heard are out there. And, it's ultimately about trust in Fresno Unified, and I want everybody to be absolutely clear as to what we are actually doing instead of just what's out there publicly or what people might have interpreted. So I do want us to take the opportunity for people to thoroughly understand where we are at and what we are doing and how we're moving forward. So I'm in support of the motion as stated by Board Member Casares, so we have that opportunity for everyone's voice to feel heard, since it's clear that a lot of people don't feel that they were heard. So thank you.
Thank you. Trustee Islas?
Thank you. I'm confused because I think there was a board majority vote that got us here. And I do want to honor and respect the time of people who came here. I want to honor and respect the candidates who are ready to interview and we're planning to interview. And I do think that what is of most outrage, concerns that I heard from the community was the lack of an opportunity to expand beyond just internal candidates. I still feel like there is an opportunity for us to honor the work that has got us to this point and then to move forward in a way that is responding to what we've heard from community. So I would not be in support of the motion tonight.
Thank you. Clerk Davis?
Well, the last time we were here, we had a statement, and it read, "The board is now to provide an update on the superintendent search. The various community meetings have been completed. An additional update will be provided at the next regular board meeting regarding the next phase of the search, which will be an interview of internal applicants." So we are at the next phase, and I feel we asked our leadership associates to do 3 things for us: listen to the community, gather a working description of what the community, based on what the community asked, and to do the internal interviews. I'm not sure how that got into the community that we were having a final vote tonight or a final anything. We stated that that would be the next phase. And in order to do the next phase, I think we need to reevaluate our leadership associates and what they brought us so far, finish that contract with them, and open it for our community. We had put in place before, this will be my 3rd superintendent search, and we've always had community members on the search. We've always had trustees suggest a person from their community or from their region, and that would prevent any closed session, because when you have individuals that are not elected officials, you have the opportunity to do everything openly in the public. So that was next, and I think we should pause and ask for leadership associates to finish their contract with us, and I would be in favor of looking for another search, a more comprehensive group that could provide us, the search that we require. So I am in support of not having any interviews tonight, stepping back and opening it up to our community and community members to be on our search with us. Thank you.
And I'm completely in favor of that. I think that this has completely spun out of control. Some of the comments were not true. Like Valerie said, Trustee Davis. Trustee Davis said, we said that we would start at this point and then move forward. I do believe, though, it is unfair. So that's why I agree with Andy and Trustee Levine and Trustee Islas. It is unfair to the people that have prepared for this next step in their lives. I do think it's unfair. However, I also believe that we should start internally because these people have worked their lives for this district. They have given time to this district. Yes. They have worked hard for this district. They have incurred racism in this district towards them and their families, including us. Some of us have also had people threaten us, threaten our jobs, and all kinds of stuff. Things are happening that people are not able to see, and it is really for that reason and for the protection of us and our employees that I think we should take a step back. However, that doesn't change my mind about whether or not we should do internal first.
Thank you. Any other discussion? Okay, can we have a roll call vote, please?
Member Cáceres?
Yes.
Member Islas?
No.
Member Jonathan Rosas?
Aye.
Member Levine?
Nope.
Member Thomas?
Yes.
Clerk Davis?
Yes.
President Wittrop?
Yes. Motion passes.
Motion passes.
We now have an opportunity for public comment on closed session items. As a reminder, the Brown Act requires all public comment at a special board meeting to be related to the agenda item. There are at least 30 individuals who would like to address the board. In accordance with Board Bylaw 9323, I'm exercising my discretion to limit each speaker to 2 minutes due to the number of speakers present.
For BAPAC, Black American Political Association of California. I come before you regarding the decision to hire internal for the future superintendent for Fresno Unified. Fresno Unified is the third largest district in California with over 74,000 students. For several years, this district has continued practicing using the same method, which we like to call a broken compass, pointing in the wrong direction, leaving no positive changes for the low-performing students, students with special needs in their schools. There have been several suggestions on how to bring in innovative strategies from within the department to enhance students' performance. However, it has proven to be a constant line of failures. For example, Gaston Middle School opened in West Fresno 2014 with emphasis to bringing in an African-American program to empower the African-American students in academics. That program has since been eliminated with no excuse as to why. Myself, colleagues, and many others have attended board meetings, community outreach meetings, etc., in hopes of helping to build a better structure to enhance students' learning. Instead, what we've seen was a decline in academic improvements, a decline in enrollment, an increase in bullying, a high use of fentanyl, and an increase in suicides. Students and staff changing the structure of schools because they can with no thought of what becomes of the neighborhood. Too many students, K through 6th grade, are leaving elementary and can't read, write, or grasp arithmetic. There's a continued demise on academics of African American students who continue to be behind. Today, the pandemic is constantly used as the main excuse to what is transpiring with our students. If this is the case, then we have to ask, what happened to the $702 million pandemic dollars that was given to the district? How has that money been spent? It's clearly obvious that it has not been used as a resource for students in the schools in need.
Thank you, Ms.
And
Darden.
now the district is facing a $30 million deficit.
Priscilla
The question is
Presto.
why?
Thank you, Mrs. Darden. Followed by Drew Phillips.
Just a reminder that at a special meeting, the speakers have to speak on the agenda item only.
Thank you.
My first teacher was my mom. One of the first things she taught me was how important education is. During my pre-K to 12th grade years, I attended 6 different schools in 3 different school districts. I can tell you firsthand that good education revealed itself to be a privilege, but it does not have to be. Because of what my mom taught me, I consider myself a lifelong student, and I advocate for everyone to have the same mentality. I say this because there's always moments to learn, whether those moments be in a classroom or right here in this boardroom. A teaching moment I would like to share with you is on the difference between hearing and listening. Hearing is the passive act of perceiving sound, while listening is the active process of making sense of those sounds. I hope that each of you trustees is listening. If not to me, then at least to yourselves, as reflected in your board philosophy, which states, leadership and accountability at all levels are essential. Leadership is not attached to specific roles or official titles. Actions that demonstrate leadership are expected success. Accountability is defined as being responsible to peers and colleagues in the pursuit of learning. All learners take responsibility for their learning. This includes students, teachers, staff, administrators, parents, families, community, superintendent, and board. If your own philosophy in emphasizing leadership and accountability was just sound to you, then let me remind you that you may not be listening. Can we as a community trust our trustees to put our students first? Your first major listed role as a governing board, as stated in your bylaws, is setting the direction for the district through a process that involves the community, parents, guardians, students, and staff. I'm speaking here today because not all of those people are able to be here today. I'm here for them. One of those people being my mom, a school bus driver for the district. Many others have also voiced that they simply want U7 to want this as well for our school district. And that means asking the whole state, even the whole nation, for help. And it's up to U7 to actually listen. Thank you.
Thank you. Drew Phelps, followed by Christina Soto.
Good evening, trustees, Board Chair Wittrup. My name is Drew Phelps. I live at 1107 North Van Ness, Unit 106 here in Fresno. I'm here tonight, and I'm really pleased to see the action that's come before you. I'll keep my comments short because I think they reflect what my ask is here today. I moved here from Tulare a few years back to live with my girlfriend, who was a graduate of Hoover High. And we moved to the Tower District. We love living in Fresno, and we want to make this our long-term home. And so we want to raise our kids here, right? We want strong education, and we believe that Fresno Unified will be the place where we can raise those kids and have a future together. And so it's decisions like these that help us make those decisions moving forward for where we send our kids. And so it's not that I come before you tonight asking this candidate versus that candidate. It's really that I'm looking to see a process play out. We want to see transparency, and I do believe that anything less than going through the most exhaustive process possible is shortchanging the kids at the district today and our future kids. So I appreciate the action taken tonight and ask that we have this full process play out. Thank you.
Thank you. Christina Soto, followed by Anthony Wasim Hadid.
Good afternoon. I am not a great public speaker, and I'm a little emotional right now, so I'm going to do my best to get through this. First of all, I just want to address how offensive it is to hear trustees talk about honoring people's time when community members invested hours. Me personally, I invested probably 5 hours of my time attending these listening sessions and going to these meetings to give feedback and hearing other community members give feedback. Just to have that feedback disregarded and misrepresented, that's not honoring our time. That's not honoring community time. It's not honoring parents, families, and students. And I find that extremely upsetting. I think that it doesn't make any sense to handicap ourselves by limiting this process to internal candidates. Community stated that we wanted someone who was familiar with the Valley. That doesn't mean internal. How that was represented to mean internal. I'm sure there are many people across the state and maybe the nation who have Central Valley roots who would be very qualified to be superintendent, and why we would limit that search, I don't understand. So when people talk about,
misinformation and misrepresentation and things like that. When there's no transparency, that is what happens. At one of these listening sessions, the one that Representative or Trustee Thomas attended, there was a point where there was lecture about, parents.
After opening, the same thing. We appointed interim, did a search, and then secured Carol Goldsmith. For fire chief, we did a national search. We ended up with an internal applicant. For police chief, we did a national search, ended up with an interim, internal, and then a permitted from external. In all those cases, there were national searches. In some, an internal candidate was the strongest, and others, an external candidate. But the process was similar, and it created some trust with the public. I want to simply thank you guys for the task that you're undertaking. As trustees, by definition, you are entrusted with the future of my kids and everyone else's kids. And I think today's action is a step in that direction. And I'm confident that you guys will end up with the best candidate that you've identified, whether they be an internal or an external. And I'm also confident that you won't allow any special interest, it be a search firm, an internal or external group, to dictate to you who you believe is the best candidate. So I wish you the best of luck, and thank you for today's action and moving in the right direction.
Thank you. Darius Sasimi. Followed by Darlene Lee.
Board President Wittrup, members of the School Board of Trustees, my name is Darius Sasimi. I also have been a victim of racism. As a Muslim immigrant from Iran, I've had to endure that for many years of my tenure here in Fresno, California. In front of you, there's a petition signed by 375 people, from community leaders to community activists to members of our community. Please take a look at it. There's lots of comments along with the signatures. Thank you for your vote tonight. Thank you, Trustee Casares, for that motion to actually start fresh. And please don't shortchange yourself and our community. Do a nationwide search. Make it public and transparent so the public is aware of what's shaping up for the most important job, not only at Fresno Unified, but also in Fresno County. And also a new search firm that does not have a conflict of interest with this body, that is not currently coaching folks at Fresno Unified, that has no other interest. You need to start with a new search firm that is not connected. Take your time, do the research, find the folks, because the public is watching you. Public behind me, somebody said there's lots of emotions, because we all recognize how important this job is. This position is, you're the Chief Executive Officer for Fresno Unified, again, the most important job in our county. Don't shortchange yourself, and find a new search team that will help you, guide you, and keep the process public, including in members of the community. Thank you.
Thank you. Darlene Lee, followed by Anna Rita Howe.
Good evening, trustees. My name is Darlene Lee. I am one of Fresno Unified's sixth grade teachers. I would like to allow my time to Assistant Superintendent Anarita Howell. Thank you. Nhớ trong bây trong hông sợ đời mà nó của nấy châu sợ đời của nấy trong tàu tua của ý chế mong ở tua bắt sớ bây tuần sai mong tua nó như tàu là ba bây giờ mình nhọ cần tới châu nhà bây số.
We need a translator, please. Oh, okay.
She just repeated it in
Thank you.
for the community.
Anna Rita Howe.
Thank you. Good evening, Board President Wittrup, members of the board, and those who are present tonight on this matter. I'm here to express my concerns as an HR Assistant Superintendent and the employer of choice in Fresno County. Your site leaders refer to it as standing in the gap for kids. This is what effective leaders do every day, not just on the days when it serves us politically. We strive to be the leaders today that our kids needed yesterday. I am here to stand in that gap and give my perspective as well as all of my wonderings. My first observation is that Superintendent Nelson has been in his position for 7 years, with Misty Herr as his deputy for the past 3. Each year, Superintendent Nelson received a positive evaluation. And now we are divisive. Divisive of his practice and divisive of the outcomes, but it was never reflected in his verbal, transparent evaluation. So that has me really concerned as you're sitting in those seats. Also, I'm kind of concerned about the internal candidates are considered minorities and people of color, but they're not being given an opportunity to interview at this point as was scheduled. Coming from an immigrant family myself, also as a second language learner, raised in the Fresno Unified School System, I wonder if I could have ever stood a chance to become a superintendent in our district, being a minority female, with seems to be a glass ceiling limiting my professional growth, walking in the hallway and only looking at pictures of males. As a teacher and a site leader, I always told our students in the same situation as me that effort in education will lead you to the top of your field, but the board is not demonstrating this philosophy to our kids doing what they're doing now. It is fitting to find local businessmen and politicians weighing in. Successful businessmen, whether corporate or family-owned, understand the importance of a strong succession planning. Most CEOs have their successor trained and ready to promote to allow for a smooth transition. Successful elected officials also understand the importance of growing up and knowing the intricacies of the areas they serve. They speak to the history, the infrastructure, and their needs of their constituents because they have walked in their shoes in their valley in this community. They understand the access and the lack of access that we have provided. Our own board approves of leadership development and succession planning within our district, enough so to fund leadership cohorts and to grow our own. Most recently, our board has approved our new doctoral program to move beyond succession at sites. So let's take some of those concepts, apply them to hiring a superintendent who knows this district from a variety of roles. My wondering is why we question that succession planning now you have been supporting for the last 10 years. So with that, we have successors and opportunities. Please take a look at our candidates who have been doing the work, who have a broad vision, who may want to do things differently and just need to be given an opportunity to show the reciprocity of learning, the culture of kindness, but more importantly, a tough culture of accountability to everyone involved for our students. Thank you.
Thank you. Next speaker, Cher Vang, followed by Cao Zong, followed by Va Her.
Board President, board members, ladies and gentlemen, thank you for giving me this opportunity to speak tonight. My name is Cher Vang. I'm the president of the Hmong SGU Veterans and Family of California, and also a retired high school counselor from Fresno Unified School. I am proud of Fresno Unified. I do respect your leadership and your decision to find the very best candidate for our superintendent. I value that. I feel that we have strong candidate within our district who can perform the job as superintendent to lead our district. I think they have the experience, the leadership skill, they know the community well, they know the need of the student and our teachers, both classified and certificate. So I feel that we have strong candidate within our district. It's not necessary to find somebody outside, since Fresno Unified is a shortfall of money. And to find somebody outside, we are going to spend about 100 or 200,000. Where does that money come from? Yes, I respect your leadership and your decision. However, through this process of searching, to make sure that your decision is not based on political agenda or personal agenda, which will incite racial tension. And thank you. God bless all of you.
Thank you. Cao Zong, followed by Va Her.
Good evening, board. My name is Cao Zhang, CEO of the Hmong Business Incubator, or HBI for short. We are a community-based organization primarily serving the underserved and underrepresented Hmong community. HBI is monitoring the situation regarding the Fresno Unified Superintendent search and the recent news that led to an unnoticed concern about the cultural insensitivity and racial bias. HBI is concerned about the potential impact these issues may have among the Hmong community, including students experiencing microaggressions. In the light of Board President Susan Wittrop's statement concerning nepotism allegations related to Deputy Superintendent Mao Misty Hear's candidacy, HBI calls for a thorough examination of legal implications and any substantiating evidence surrounding these claims. Please note that HBI refrains from naming any specific individuals or organization to avoid any potential legal issues. Along these notes, HBI will be contacting the Office of Civil Rights, American Civil Liberty Union, and other agencies to address these chilling effects in the Hmong community. Thank you, that's it.
Thank you. Vaher, followed by Jerry Yang Johnson and John Tao.
Good evening, Board. Thank you for this opportunity. I want to applaud you for coming to a consensus and moving forward. My name is Vaher. I'm also with the Hmong Business Incubator Center, echoing my CEO. I do want to clarify a news article that just came out of my accusation. It is true. I am accusing Susan Withrop, the Board President, of inciting racial racism, whether that is intentional or unintentional. I would like to address that because it has gone unnoticed. I don't think that it is my position to tell you whether you want to be internal or external. I think that's completely up to the board because at the end of the day, it doesn't matter what happened outside of the diocese. You're all going to vote on this. The board ultimately is going to vote on the next CEO, okay? Now, what I'm here to talk about is whether it's intentional or unintentional. So, comments like, she has all kinds of family members in the district. Comments like, the practice of nepotism, failed culture, and Fresno Unified. I was a student at Fresno. I graduated from Edison High. I've retired from the military, a disabled veteran now, in the community with business owners, running a very successful nonprofit. And just to add, just so that I do not represent Sanger Unified, but I do sit on the Sanger Unified board. Tonight, I'm not representing that. So if that's not success from Fresno Unified, what culture of failure are you talking about? Okay, so I really want to address, okay? And Ms. Withrow, my phone number is public. If you want to give me a call on the chronological time frame of the news articles that I gather and the comments that I made and the comments that was announced out there that our community deemed insensitive,
thank you,
please
Mr.
give
Herr.
me a call.
Thank you, Mr. Herr. Jerry Yang Johnson, followed by John Tao.
Hi, good evening, trustees. My name is Jerry Yang Johnson. I'm a Fresno resident, community developer, and soon-to-be parent of a Fresno Unified student. I'm here today to speak on the process and search of our next superintendent. First, I respect your vote today, but what you have done as a body is pin your very own internal leaders up against possible external candidates. That is on you. I attended your community listening sessions, and I heard overwhelmingly from parents, students, residents, and staff that they felt that there were strong, capable, confident internal candidates to lead our school district. I also spoke with many community leaders who didn't have a voice in news media and in articles, and they also expressed their confidence in potential internal leaders. You have in front of you candidates with decades of commitment and expertise and resolute determination to give every child in our district access to the best possible education. You have in front of you candidates who have been raised, formed, and grown through the district with their lived experience, and their dedication to our students in our community, and they have been tireless about it. I've spent decades as a community builder, working with government, community benefits organization, educational institutions, and many of you in building programs for our community. I know that this process will build the economic and social resilience of our community, and you have that responsibility on your shoulders. Your primary responsibility is to be prudent and serious about this decision. Do not fail us. Lastly, I want to say something about the racial hate that some of the candidates have endured in this process. It is not only a stain on our community, but incredibly dangerous. I hope that you, as a body and leaders, will take part in speaking up against this hate. Thank you for your time.
Thank you.
Good afternoon, Board of Trustee. It is an honor to be here. Hi, Valerie. You serve my district. Thank you so much for your leadership. I stand before you today as a concerned members of our Hmong community. I'm here to speak specifically about how this board could not work together to find a good candidate. I just want to show you a little bit how experience I have in a couple of days. Me and my family, we went to River Park, and a white guy came to me and said, your kind will never be on the superintendent agenda. Just want to share you that. It's painful, hurtful. So I'm here today to speak on behalf of that. I want all the board to work together. The transformations in Fresno is very important. You see, you might not be into my backyard, or I might not be in your backyard, but Fresno County had demographic of minority, had enrollment in 4 high schools that are minority. Central High, Sunnyside, McLean, and Roosevelt. You guys all know that. So my recommendation to you is that please find someone who knowledge about our diversities, serve this whole high school. That is the most important. And I want to share you that we are refused to stand by and allow President Susan to continue to target our community and discriminate against our people. And I call this upon this board to hold this individual accountable and to uphold the principle of integrity.
Thank you, Mr. Tao.
And
thank you, Mr.
And the
Tao.
best of our community interests. Thank you.
Una Veng, followed by Kimberly Veng.
Hello, my name is Una Vang, and I'm with my peers. I'm a senior at Edison High School, and in 2 months I will be graduating. And instead of preparing for my graduation or getting ready for my prom, my classmates and I are here addressing issues that we're supposed to trust the adults with. These same adults, these trustees who are showing us the exact opposite of what Fresno Unified is supposed to stand for. Majority of us here attending know that we are in the search for a new superintendent. But throughout this process of so-called searching, we have had candidates and ready to go, waiting to be evaluated. These candidates are all people of color, as they represent a diverse palette of Fresno's large ethnic population residing here. So with this palette, why is there a need to search after seeing this palette? We have qualified running candidates that can speak for the students, speak for the parents based on their own experiences. But I guess it doesn't matter your gender. Your skin color overlooks your credentials. Your color defines whether you are fit or not to be a superintendent. Because it's no longer you are a woman, you are a man, you cannot run. It was your people don't deserve the right to be the face of our district, or a person like you shouldn't be our superintendent. This all sounds deeply rooted, and I hate to say it, but white supremacy and racism. And as vulgar as that sounds and uncomfortable it may make you, imagine the discomfort many students, staff, teachers, and our parents endured every day during school or work. It was always brushed off or told, there's nothing we can do about it. And it's an absolute joke that racism is already deep-rooted in this process of choosing a district superintendent, a person who is supposed to represent the students. But these superintendents are enduring the same uncomfortability, discriminations the students face daily. I hope from these words spoken to you all today, I hope you do not brush this off or say this isn't a big deal. I hope you show more remorse and place your concerns more on the voices here spoken today instead of that 2-minute timer. Thank you.
Thank you. Kimberly Vang, followed by Ching Yang.
My name is Kimberly Vang, and I'm the Edison graduating class of 2024. This is the second district meeting that I have attended, as recently I was fortunate enough to advocate for the course of ethnic studies. I was brought here today under the impression that there has been disagreements between seeking a new superintendent, and my question for you all is this really about broadening the potential of the best candidate to represent the Fresno School District, or is this about how you don't want a person of color representing your school district? There was a common ground between both conversations I attended, in which I refer to the Ethnic Studies Board meeting I attended, being the issue of representing people of color. Through this, I realized that although people of color are the majority in Fresno, we are still being treated as the minority. That gap is continuously enabled and stimulated, I repeat, stimulated, by a system that is supposed to protect the people regardless of gender and race. People of color have been given the right to attempt for higher positions such as district superintendent, but as soon as we have candidates who are all people of color running for this position, a new problem arose, which is should we keep or should we not keep candidacy in the House? This isn't to deviate from the hard work that non-people of color have put in, but when you have 3 people of color on hold to potentially be a superintendent and the board is considered seeking new persons from other school districts, this makes me wonder why they're seeking people in other districts when 3 people running are the most reasonable people to be superintendents for Fresno Unified, seeing as 90% of the students in Fresno Unified are people of color. Thank you.
Thank you. Ching Yang, followed by Cheyenne Zong.
All right. Good evening, board members. My name is Mr. Yang. I'm a school teacher at Edison. I teach Hmong at Edison, and I am very blessed to have these students come into my classroom, and sometimes I have the opportunity to hear some of their thoughts and some of their emotions when there are decisions that are being made that directly impacts the district that they are very proud to be a part of. When they approached me, I had several students that were very concerned. Specifically speaking, when they heard that the final candidates that was en route to apply for this position as superintendent were all people of minority. All of a sudden, there was a grasp to expand the search. In my own opinion, I think I value your expertise as the board members you were voted in because, you have the trust of the community members, and I trust that you will make the decision based off of what will cater to the best of the community. At the same time, I think that some of my students, when they came to me and said, why is it that they did not start with the wide search from the get-go? And then all of a sudden, when they realized that the final 3 candidates are all minorities, then all of a sudden they wanted to switch into a wider search. Is it because there's not a specific ethnic that is part of the candidacy, or what is it? And so when they questioned me, I kind of shrugged my shoulder and said, I'm not really sure. But I will tell you this much. You have the ability to speak your mind, and I will stand before you, I will stand next to you as you make your voices heard, and that's what I'm here tonight to do. And so I thank you for this opportunity, for allowing our Tigers to be here to address you guys.
Thank you. Cheyenne Zong, followed by Tao Yang and Austin Yang after Tao.
My name is Cheyenne Kaying Ving. I'm a 6th grade student at Vingpao Elementary School. I've been in the Hmong Dual Language Immersion program for 7 years. I'm a part of the first cohort of students that started learning Hmong in the after-school program at Greenberg in 2017 as a kindergarten student. I transferred to Vingpao when I first launched the DI program as a first grade student. Before I started school, I only spoke and understood English. I couldn't understand Hmong, therefore I was not able to talk with my grandparents. I could not understand their language, and I had no relationship with them. Because of the Hmong dual language program in Fresno Unified, I can now read, write, and speak in Hmong. I can communicate with my grandparents, and because I can finally speak my native tongue, I've learned so much about myself as a Hmong American. I understand and have been so appreciative of all the sacrifices my grandparents made so I can stand here in front of you all today. I want to leave you here with this quote by Nelson Mandela. If you talk to a man in a language he understands, that goes to his head. If you talk to him in his own language, that goes to his heart. Because I am bilingual, I will be able to support my community in the future. I want you to hire a superintendent who looks like our students in Fresno Unified, who understands their needs and struggles, who speaks more than one language, and will continue to support our language programs. Ochao, and thank you.
Thank you. Tao Yang, followed by Austin Yang.
Good evening, board members. My name is Sade Williams.
I'm sorry.
The South Valley Director for Go Public Schools. As a leader of an organization dedicated to uplifting parent voice and equipping families with the tools to advocate for their children, I'm here tonight with concerns about how family voice has been misrepresented throughout the current superintendent search process. Over the course of a series of community engagement meetings, families identified a set of key priorities for their superintendent. Families taking the time to provide feedback is a reflection of their hope for their children's future and their deep investment in Fresno Unified. Despite significant alignment in certain focal areas, vital information was withheld from board trustees to guide their decision. This has resulted in a loss of trust and feelings of dismissal. Families want their next superintendent to be set up for success. If the next superintendent enters the role on a foundation of perceived dishonesty or disregard for the time and input of families, it will only make it harder for them to effectively and collaboratively lead our schools. We urge you to continue gathering family input through an open process. Let's ensure this next leader has families as their partners, not as an opposition. Thank you.
Thank you.
It's Terry Kimber Edwards, by the way. And I just want to say good afternoon to the board president and to all the trustees. It's good to see you again. You're not done with me yet. My concerns, I first want to acknowledge the student voice that has been in this room. I think that's important. I hadn't planned on, it's not in my notes, but I just think that's important that they have stressed the way they feel, and as a former Fresno Unified student, parent, teacher, vice principal, principal, and a district administrator with Parent University. I am currently working also with Fresno Unified teachers so I'm still invested in Fresno Unified. Is this really a genuine concern about the kids? I'm really concerned about that, and the parents, and the community. And what process for parent input is there? A selection of parents to participate in the selection process. What process is that? How do you select those parents? What parents will participate? And as also, will former retirees, as myself, be considered to participate in the process and to have it, because they have had experience with many superintendents and they have much wisdom to give and still have grandchildren, nieces, nephews, family members within Fresno Unified. So it makes me wonder, is this politics as usual? Is there some agenda? Are there backroom deals? Is there somebody waiting in the wings that is being primed to become superintendent? So my suggestion is this: a transparent, fair, and equitable, we use that term very freely, equitable selection process that includes parents, students, employees, whether they're former or current, and constituents from the community. And let's make sure when we use the word equity that that's what we really mean. Thank you.
Mrs. Edwards. Daniel.
Good evening, board. Manuel Bonilla, Fresno Teachers Association, represent the 4,500 educators, social workers, nurses, trades professionals in Fresno Unified. Just first by thanking them and all the work that they do on a daily basis, their tireless work, thanking for the community. It is hard to come out and to speak your voice, and so whatever your opinion is, just thank you for coming out tonight and showing your love for Fresno Unified. Although I am glad that the board ultimately made the step in the right direction in regards to expanding the search here tonight, it does come with a bit of frustration. I know frustration that our educators feel and the frustration that I think our community feels, and that is saying that you want community input, saying that you want educator input, and then ignoring it. And then only taking steps in the right direction when you're forced to do so and forced to do so publicly. That's frustrating. You're losing the trust of your educators. You're losing the trust of your community. We hope that tonight you take this step will help to rebuild that trust. I know that there was a conversation in regards to hosting a community search, having community members part of that committee. That's a great first step. I challenge this board, though, to say that this is not good enough. We should have, when we have a finalist list, those finalists should come and talk to the community about their vision, about what they want in the community. So that way we know every step along the way. So we hope that you would commit to that. And then, frankly, just want to be very clear, this is not about any one individual. This is about a process. This is about a process to get the best individual, and those candidates should lean into this process to say, I am willing, I want to go through that process to show my vision to lead this school district and this community of 74,000 students. Thank you.
Thank you.
Hi, board. Good evening. I've been here once, twice, or 24 times to speak to you because I value actually diversity, have spoken for the Hmong community, for our African American community, for our Latino community, making a safe space for schools, having us force these issues on numerous occasions. So I want to stand here saying that we love our Hmong community, and there's no one here saying that a Hmong person isn't possible for this position, okay? I want to say that first. If we value the education of 74,000 children, then you as the governing board would not be doing backdoor closed session deals for political gain. We would be considering how the school district is doing, how they're performing, what are the metrics, assessments, and evaluations being used. You all did give Bob a glowing review, and now you're being held accountable to that because he was not worth it. He did horrible leading this district. The district is failing. You almost had a strike after 45 years under your leadership and Bob's leadership. We said as a community not to give him a glowing review, and you did it anyway. Our metrics are failing. We are one of the worst districts in the state. To sit up here and some woman say, you gave him a glowing review? Our kids can't read. I have babies out here that can't read. And I appreciate, Keisha, you paying attention so much when I'm talking and ignoring. Because I know some of you have something to gain by using the Hmong community as your political pawn for when you want to run for something. Because I want to ask the Hmong community how many times you have seen people out there in your community supporting you before tonight. Because I don't like people using y'all as a political pawn for their future, and that is exactly what is happening. And if nobody else is going to say it, y'all know I am going to say it. I love them, and I have been out there every step of the way with this community. And I am not here to let them get used to set Misty up for failure, because it seems you weren't even considering the other people that were up here tonight.
Thank you, Ms. Williams. Sandra.
My name is Sandra Celedon, and I'm here today as a parent of the district. And I just want to reiterate that the most significant work of the board and the only employee that you ever hire is the superintendent. And I am very disappointed in how royally you fumbled that process from the gate. Because of your actions today and your failure to actually execute in your primary job, we're here today. Because some of you have made comments even asking, how did you guys get this idea that it was a closed process? And the fact that you failed to even observe and internalize how it was your very actions that have actually created this tension in community further demonstrates the lack of leadership on this board. And so it is not up to your employees, and this is not confirming anybody's, whether they're capable or not of leading this district. What this demonstrates is that you are not capable of leading this district. And so I urge you to take a step back and fully flesh out a process from start to finish. Because again, some of you have claimed that you're educators, and I surely hope that you're not educating my son. Because any good educator first puts a lesson plan together. How am I going to go from start to finish in the semester? And you have failed to put together that lesson plan of how are you going to recruit your one and only employee from the start. What is that process going to look like so that we can get to the finish line? You are clearly winging it. And you are clearly not setting yourself up for success because you're not hiring the support that you need. And so whether you want to blame your consultant or not, at the end of the day, you hired those consultants. Because I can tell you that I would have fired those consultants on day 2. And so I am here today also to say that Misty Her, I have had the pleasure of working with her. She's a very capable and professional person.
Mrs.
But whether
Celadon.
you select her or not, you will have forever tainted her appointment if she is the top candidate.
Thank you.
So open up the process.
Gloria Hernandez.
Today I had the pleasure of talking to the superintendent from Firebaugh. I was congratulating him that 50 of his kids are going to graduate not only with a high school diploma, but also an AA out of West Hill College. For a small town, a campesino town, a town that didn't have internet during the COVID, that is astonishing. And I asked myself, why aren't my kids, my neighbors, the same? I once had an interview with 25 people, and I was just applying to be a counselor. Another job, I got interviewed 5 times. I understand the frustration of the community. The leaking should have never taken place. It's embarrassing for Misty. I think you need to go nationwide. You have to have a process, and a process where those people that are going to be the top 2, top 3, come back to the community, meet with us, and answer some difficult questions. The same problems come up over and over, and I come to you guys once in a blue moon, and I'm always right. I'm always right. I don't want to keep doing that. I'm getting old. So you need to do the right thing. You need to redo the process. You need to open it up and involve the community and listen to the heart of the community. These are our kids out there. These are my neighbors' kids. We can't just play favoritism. We can't do stuff behind closed doors. No, we work too hard to get here. And I always say, if you're going to get in, don't close the door behind you. And that's what it seems like is happening here. Thank you.
Thank you. Chris Vang.
Board. My name is Chris Vang. I am the CMO for HBI. In light of Board President Whittle's statement concerning allegation of the nepotism surrounding the appointment of Deputy Superintendent Mal Misty Her, it is imperative that we examine the legal implication and the substantial evidence pertaining to such claim. Moreover, it is essential to scrutinize the interconnected relationship and affirmation affiliation of Board President Whittle's supporters, as their collective action may contribute to a broader culture of favoritism and cronyism within our governing body. For instance, individuals such as Miguel Aris, Juan Key Arabula, Nelson Esprada, and Gary Braitsfield, all whom are slated to terms out in the near future, may seek future employment opportunities of political position. The potential for quad pro quo arrangement or treatments in exchange of political support warrants careful examination within the context of nepotism allegations. Additionally, the involvement of Darius Assemi and the financial finance of Board President Whittle's raised concerns regarding the extent of his influence and the potential conflicts of interest may arise from his financial backing. In light of these considerations and the announcement of board members Claudia Caceres' announcement changing her vote, it is incumbent upon us to ensure transparency, accountability, and adherence to legal standards in all facets of our governance. While recognizing the complexity of political dynamic and external influences, we must remain steadfast in our community to uphold the principle of fairness
Thank you, Mr.
and
Yang.
impairment in our decision-making process.
Thank you. We will now adjourn to closed session.
I love that you said I'm always right. Is it you and Sandra and I have to come to a board meeting and say, you're a fan of the process? You're not insulting anybody up who's success right now, you know? I know that thing is Keisha is awesome. She knows that I've heard it so
Trên tàu này sẽ được vào từ trên chỉ là trả được một cái TV từ quý sáng nó do và hơn cho bên trong Fresno này thì nó nói bênตัวcho họ và Fresno Unified School Board là với họ open là như thế khi thả cho họ sai từ Superintendent cho xã Fresno xã Unified nữa nên chế và cái sao đi chả bây giờ họ muốn cho nó là thả ta thì sẽ được tôi chống thôi nào.
Cú xã hai tia nó ta chỉ nó là sẽ được chỉ bảo rõ nè, ta chỉ nó bênตัวbên chỉตัวcho họ nó là cho cái sĩ sai nè, bênตัวhay cho lù là yếu liệt bênตัวmua nè, thế yếu liệt hay nữ cho lù nó mà là hay mà là sẽ tới bên chấm phong kia nè, là những hai tia bên chấm phong màเนี่ยsĩเนี่ยมั่วเนี่ยsĩ chính cho tu thế màเนี่ยbênตัวmua mấy gì nè màเนี่ยมั่วnó viên cho họ lựa đó họ mà là chỉ bảo cho lại cho xét đâu này làm gì, chứ còn nó mà mấy mất bị to thì là dùng cái bê tông này nó chỉ là cái bê tông này nó chỉ là cái thầu là hay nó là chỉ là sách sao bây giờ mong đây là chỉ bảo cho bây giờ mong cái cử bây giờ mong cái trái bây giờ mong khẩu trở này chỉ là cái hay cho lụt chuột đi nó chỉ nó là bê bao nó bê tua hay cho lụt nó là gọi là bao là bê bao cho họ nó là nó
vì hay tiệt có sẽ được họ tao mình chỉ thiệt lúc khi họ nói về tụi thâu cho vậy nên họ Nelson nó giờ tụi tan thò lúc ở trên cần tàu nhá họ nói trong Fresno nào bây giờ
yeah man Bob Nelson mà này tụi Superintendent này tụi làคณะ board là cha này tụi thâu cho này họ lửa đó là tụi cho lúc district nó mà nhập là cha tụi board này chỉ nó nữ retire nữ chỉ retire nữ tôi cho họ lửa chia thì mù chỉ là nó là sai tụi chia đó là nó mua hai cho mà nó ở bên ngoài tàu mà hai cho là cho cái sai thế là cho cái khía cạnh mà nó bây giờ chỉ là chính trang chỉ là với cho lùa là với cho lùa to với cho mong rồi nè chỉ nó sợ tiền là chót chữ là những bao là những hình dây nó là chỉ dây chắp bên là bây giờ là tí giờ doctor là tí giờ tiền này cần phải siết chắp rồi nè chỉ giờ tiền là tiền là ở cái là rồi bên chỉ cho tàu này vì tiền cái này chân dây bảo nó nèก็làตัวละให้จะรู้นะแต่เราchỉ có ở cái nàyแต่เราก็ชอบเสือ
แต่ชิมาไปหายนอนมาไปหายจอกเขาเดี๋ยวแล้วเขาเก๋สายvìเดี๋ยวเขาเก๋สายเด้อนะมาไปมือทั้งมองยาหนะยะยิ่งยอดตัวให้เดี๋ยวยามัวถ่าต้านทอลอยอย่างนี้วัวเขาหลุยยิ่งวัวเตาเต้นนะพี่แต่ชิมายี่จ่าเลยจีกาสายเราย่อเลยกาสายใช่เนี่ยเราเลยจะเรามาสายเนี่ยนะครับ
มองเราเลยจีสายเหรอมองเราเลยให้เดี๋ยวเรายังมูเราจะการมูชิถ่าเรายังมูชาลาให้เดี๋ยวเรายังอุลิจ่าเราที่สายตอนได้นะมูเตาแต่สิยิ่งให้มัวเจงนะถอปีมาไปยิ่งมือตัวหมอนมองว่าหนึ่งตัววัวจะเขาหรือน่ารอเนี่ยหนึ่งตัวปีเราถอหนึ่งละปีเราวัวเจถอหนึ่งลอนดอนตัว Superintendent Bob Nelson ว่านะมาแล้วตัวมัวหนึ่งเราเกิดเดี๋ยวจ่อว่าเขาหรือก่อนนี่เจ้าเขาหรือนอเท่าเนี่ย
厉害的，要了一头厉害 Vice President 嘛呀，是的，包领导是呀，是的去包。
要嘛个要领导嘛，
这要领导呢，这要懂得就好了，这你要读要主要读包差不呀？
要嘛。
这你包差好了，然后么地了，还得了要包了就晒呢这，然後เราหมดเจ้าไปจะมองยังไม่เห็นเรานะ
อย่าขนาดมาอีอย่างนี้頭邊嘛，เรา包ตูเราที่包ตูเราที่หัดเดียวเรา要晒choว่า internal มาchoว่าเขาหรือเขา Fresno ฟังเจ้ามอนอเจ้เราจะรู้ตัวดักกันเลยเจ้ามอหัดเดียวเรายิ่งใช้ต่อไปจะมองนั่นมา
chị biết chúng muốn tông gì á vì ô lê hay thả mấy mê lên nó cho nên cái này trời cá rồi biết khả nó sợ chị ô cho nó chị biết mà lên thả nó tông gì cái sự tao tao thank you và hey thả mà nó nói có sao đi chả
nó của tôi nó mà của xã hay tiệc của tôi thả nan tao ít tu nè bỏ là giờ ít tu nè tài là giờ ít tu nè chế của tôi nó của chia tôi qua trâu hay thì hay ít tu từ nó mà của tôi trâu của tu khang của tôi trâu bé hay mong thì cái gì giá nó là số bé tôi kiến gian chẳng giờ luôn sai chỉ tàu dù hay năng là giờ luôn sai trở tới cái tới chuyện cái này tới chuyện họ nói chuyện gian chẳng bé tôi họ nói bé tôi chỉ cột trồng cho họ nằm mà bé tôi thiệt chuyện gian chẳng bố trò bé cho nên chỉ hay có tụ của tụ lên từ tụ xí bằng tụ đa tụ đu tụ đỡ xí bằng bé vừa chuyện gian chẳng bị họ thì bé vừa mua mì xăng lần xăng giữ cho chong tại sao tự nhiên hay tiệt tàn họ lúc tới chợ America nó chỉ lúc trong Fresno nó giờ lúc thi bé ở chợ mình student chống chập lời này bây giờ chỉ bé tôi nói bé lúc và lúc chế nhau trục họ nó bé thà chơi nhau trục họ nó bé tê mình sang lần sang giữ vô lo trục họ nó chỉ bé tua nó chỉ cú tua nó cú tuần thiệt kiến gian chẳng nó ấy còn xí sái tàu hay lù cả là giờ qua hậu lửa là cả kiến gian chẳng nè nè cú tua trò họ nó mà giờ li nó
mỗi chiếc chống tủ sẵn đầu thiết của chị đi trước có là thả sẽ có khi thì có giờ từ nó đồ sẵn đầu thiết
cú luôn bé hoa cầu lì va cú giờ nhẹ cô lôi này va phòng nè cú nhớ trò họ luôn trong Fresno nè nè
okay giờ ôn trâu rồi có lúc xí hở thế ôn trâu rồi có tua rồi nó thế nè
vậy là ôn trâu tàu nè mà đi đâu ôn trâu
Okay, so thank you so much for still staying with us and continue watching and continue this news with us. I have next to me here it's a Hmong gal who is resident of Fresno. I'm gonna let you talk to her a little bit and have her feeling about the meetings tonight and what is her opinion on the issue right now.
Hi, my name is Yuna Vang. I'm a senior at Edison High School. I came into this meeting outraged. I couldn't believe the racist remarks or assumptions that I've heard when I was at school today. I think it was really unfair to think that the choosing of the new superintendent was rooted through nepotism or favoritism. I believe we should have a new superintendent who represents all the students of color at Fresno Unified, considering especially the big Hmong population we have of students here at Fresno and Clovis Unified and Sanger as well, but more specifically Fresno. There's so many Hmong students that reside, especially our Hmong classes that really are the backbone of Fresno Unified. So I was just excited. I was excited to say my opinion and say my piece, and yeah, thank you.
Okay, but tell us your name.
Oh, my name is Yuna Vang.
Okay, thank you so much. And thank you for coming out because we need young people to put their voice in their opinion too. Because it's not about the elder people. The elder people, are the ones that it's going to be leaving this earth soon. Okay? And so any decisions and anything that is going to be made, it's going to be by the younger people like yourself. And it's going to be the people who's going to lead us forward. So thank you so much and being strong for the community.
Thank you for having me.
Okay, thank you. All right, thank you so much. So, có hai lúm món là mày cào, okay? Okay. Hai lúm mày cào. Okay. Okay, so có kia bé có đi chả?
My name is Kimberly Vang.
Okay, and then tell me a little bit about, what is your reason that coming out today, and tell me, what's your opinion after the, when you heard everybody spoke.
I wanted to advocate for a superintendent that would best suit Fresno Unified, seeing as we are a school board with 90% students of color, and I feel like with this, they're trying to reach a demographic that isn't really suited for Fresno by trying to outreach another superintendent, because the three people that are most suited for it right now are people of color, and this arose a new issue for them, seeing as should we stay within the house or outside of the house, and I feel like that's a deeper rooted issue than what they're trying to make it seem, and I feel like they should stick with Fresno for superintendents.
Okay. So my understanding is there's 3 candidates right now who puts in their name in the hat that they wanted to have interviews and to be the next superintendent. And because of that, you feel that because they are minorities or, a person of color, that they do not want to stay in the district to get the person who's been working in the district or the person who live in the district. They want to reach outside nationally to get someone outside to come in to compete. Is that correct?
And I feel like it's mainly just because they're minorities and they don't want a minority representing, which is really the majority of Fresno, because most of us are minorities, that they're trying to limit us in our voices by trying to outreach to other districts.
How do you feel as a young person? Because you know how you're growing here in the community, and you're seeing all these things that's happening. How do you feel as a young person that, you know, what do I need to do to strive to be better? Can I get into those positions? Would I be limited? How do you feel about that?
Like me, I personally want kids in the future, and I feel like if I try to expand their resources now, then it'll benefit them later. Because I'm very fortunate enough to be born in this century where people of color, we are more entitled to higher positions compared to like let's say 10, 20 years ago. But we have to keep trying to make it better for our future generation as well.
Okay. So if they reach out nationally and they find somebody else who's not a person of color, who doesn't live in town, who just comes in, how do you feel about that?
My personal opinion, I feel like it wouldn't really suit our best interest. This isn't to say that a person of color or a non-person of color isn't entitled to the position, but I feel like we should look at people of color that can represent us, because I feel like a white person leading a 90% minority school isn't very right.
Okay. But do you feel that somebody who lives here knows the community, eats the community food, goes to the community events, know the kids? Do you think that that's the person, or do you think somebody outside of the, you know, the city to come in? How do you feel about that?
I think someone in Fresno, they know Fresno the best. You know, I've lived here, and it's kind of like, let's say like Orange County or LA was looking for a superintendent. Someone from Fresno wouldn't go to their city because we don't know how it is over there.
Okay. Yeah. As a young person, I just wanted your opinion on that. Yeah. Okay. Thank you so much for your time. Thank you. All right. Thank you so much.